Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. Of course, this is Luke Radowski of WeAreChange here somewhere warm in the world, and halfway across the world, of course, we have Jason Burmis, somewhere cold. But we're going to do something different today that we normally didn't do. I usually like to do videos called What the Hell Really Happened, where I break down important news of the day here on this YouTube channel, usually Sunday through Thursday. This time, I want to do it live. We're going to do it with Jason Burmis. We're going to have some feedback. And, of course, we are going to be talking to you on the live chat. Super chats, of course, have priority. But we're going to be looking at the stories of importance that happened today, breaking them down today from two perspectives, from 2 point of views. And, of course, at the end, if there's other conversations, we're going to do a little mini AMA and talk to each other and make this more of a kind of interactive platform where we could actually be on live with you as it's happening right now and interact with you as much as we can. Jason, I hope you're doing well in the cold place that you're in.
I am, Luke. I am doing very well, and I'm super excited that we're able to interact with the crowd on a live level. I think that we should get to that very first story. It's not shocking to guys like you and myself that a social media platform like Twitter is using a practice called shadow banning. And this information is coming out of Project Veritas. It is James O'Keefe, and we are going to play just a small segment of his latest video, come back around and discuss what it means to you, I, and the rest of independent journalism out there. Without further ado, let's hit that clip.
American Pravda by James O'Keefe. Adventure, betrayal, truth. Pre-order today at AmericanPravdaBook.com.
We're trying to get the shitty people not show up. It's a product thing.
Let's say it was a pro-Trump thing, and I am anti-Trump. I was like, oh, I banned this whole account. It'll go to you, and then it's at your discretion. And if you're anti-Trump, you're like, oh, you know what, Mo was right. Let it go. The idea of the
All right, so right now we're looking at the full video over here. It's called Breaking Twitter Engineers to Ban a Way of Talking Through Shadow Banning, and Mr. O'Keefe has gotten quite the video evidence of different people working over at Twitter, Luke, discussing how they can basically ban our thoughts, ban our posts without us even knowing it because it's not showing up in our followers' feed.
Yeah, and most importantly, set the dialogue for when there's trending events. And I know Project Veritas mainly focused on kind of the right-wing censorship, but we have seen censorship when it comes to a lot of people going against the status quo. Now, yes, a lot of it has been targeted against the right wings. We saw people like Milo Yiannopoulos. We saw people like Roger Stone, people like Baked Alaska being totally banned from that public platform. So this video confirms what we knew already, but having the employees openly talk about it like it's not even a big deal is just a really mind-blowing piece of video. We're going to actually have that link to that video in the comment section of this video and in the description after this video is actually done. I'm going to do that right now as we're talking live to each other.
And, you know, some of the big things that really upset me while watching this is about a 15-minute report, is that they're talking like it's not only no big deal that 90% plus of the employees there are against Trump, but kind of joking about how much power they're wielding over normal people. Again, the people have spoken for better or for worse with Donald Trump, and we here at WeAreChange definitely have a lot of problems with his presidency, especially regarding his foreign policy, but the idea that the American people don't have a say on social media, right or wrong, is a very scary Orwellian 1984 tactic, Mr. Radowski.
Well, of course, you look at Jack, you look at the controlling interest, but I think the biggest takeaway here is not only the censorship from the right wing, but most specifically in that video, you have one of the Twitter employees talking about how the government regularly pressures them. And when Julian Assange was taken off his platform, that one of the employees says that was most likely the U.S. government. Now, see, this is what happened is these social media companies, they were good ones. We had Google, YouTube, Twitter. When they were out previously before, what they did was they had an open platform that was open to every free idea, and people actually saw what they were subscribed to. If you were subscribed on YouTube, you got notifications. Google, if you were the top viewed video, you actually saw it. Twitter, you got a live feed with no algorithms, with no main stage where it's being manipulated for what you would supposedly like or not like. Now they changed everything. I mean, Burmis, this is why one of the reasons Loose Change was so popular as it was is because Google, before they started censoring and manipulating algorithms and manipulating what they thought was good and bad for you to see, that's how Loose Change was able to become a viral sensation when it was on Google videos and it wasn't censored because it was the most viewed, it was the most shared, and people actually got to see that. Now we're living in a whole parallel universe where the big mega corporations, who are influenced heavily by government, since they got seed funding by the government, pressure the government, and openly complying and spying on all of you through the NSA. I could go on and on about this, but with that happening now, we are finally seeing this be brought out to us. And when it was such a public utility, they were kind of acting like crack dealers. They give you a hit for free. Wow, this is a great open platform for free speech, and all of us could talk to each other and exchange ideas. And I could actually see what I'm subscribed to. And then now they changed the hook, and now you're only seeing what they want you to see. So the revolution will not be on your timeline. You can make that abundantly clear, and that's why we're on platforms like DTube, platforms like Steemit, platforms like BitChute, and all the other alternatives, which didn't act like the crack dealer, but don't have as much control as the big crack dealers. But it's still a way to get your message out unfiltered, like we're seeing filtered through us right now live on social media.
Absolutely. And just like you said, when Google Video first hit the scene, it was true democracy at work. And really, one of the reasons that 9/11 Truth was able to penetrate the mainstream in the manner that it did, and really cause a generation of people to start questioning their government more and more. Whether you agree with us, disagree with us, it was up there. It was out there in many, many different languages in the top 10. But those algorithms have been changed so much, Luke, that our channel, the WeAreChange channel, you've worked so hard to build upon, that now has over 500,000 subscribers. We can tell in the last 2 months our video views on that platform have gone down dramatically, while the interest has not. And we see it all the time in our comments. Well, I've had to subscribe to you guys 4 or 5 times. I'm not getting notifications about your videos. And it was a platform only a couple months ago that you saw, the lower end videos that we did between 60 and 70,000 views, and the higher end videos in that 250,000 market. But you would see really 100, 150, 200,000 as the norm. Now we're really lucky to see 100,000 hits on that platform, and that's one of the reasons we've had to move towards DTube, towards this decentralized crypto community that's being built. And there are positives in this, Luke. I mean, there are positives because other platforms are being built up, but until those platforms reach massive amounts of people, what it ends up being is censorship. And by the way, unbiased censorship. We've uploaded some videos that once they get a manual review, they're demonetized. We take them down. We make a minor edit that has nothing to do with the story whatsoever. And then all of a sudden, Luke, they're remonetized. Could you speak to that just a moment, how random the censorship actually is?
Just like we saw with the whole Jake Paul scandal recently, it's being manipulated on such a level. Of course, there's favorites, and of course, there's people who they don't deem favorable, who are contrarian, who try to make people think, who do go against the status quo, and those people are the enemies of the corporatocracy, because obviously corporations invest to put ads on YouTube. So it's very clear what's happening. The whole YouTube game has changed. I have learned not to depend on YouTube. It used to be a time and a place where, yeah, I could make a comfortable living on YouTube. You can't anymore. It's virtually impossible. Once you're demonetized, your views are totally restricted. You don't get recommended. You're not in the sidebar. You're not in the main page because you're under review. You could get, what's it called? When they review you, they could manually approve approve you. But once they manually approve you, you're already your viewership is already gone 40% because it didn't show up where all the regular videos show up. So you have someone like Jake Paul, who's obviously a favorite push, who's being promoted, who's being on trending, which is obviously a manipulation of their favorites that they want to push on you. And of course, they push idiocracy to make it look popular. They help them artificially gain views to push that psychological warfare. You got to be dumbass in order to be successful. Bull crap and hooey. It makes me sick because we're really trying to do something different here. We've been working as ethically as we can, trying to make people think. And we don't curse on this YouTube channel. We don't show any graphic images. Bam, monetized. Doesn't matter. They change their terms and services. They change and renegotiate their contracts that they have with their users. And now they just pretty much say, we can do whatever the hell we want. And that's exactly what they're doing. We've been hit by this really, really hard. And it's not only us, it's a lot of other people. It's people on the right, it's people on the left. And I want to kind of come back to the Julian Assange story, as we learned from Project Veritas, that it was most likely probably the U.S. government that deleted his account for a day. Now he's also back in the news right now as we're speaking. We're also finding that he's able to get his Ecuadorian citizenship after being told to leave the Ecuadorian embassy by the president, which was a long scandal being played out. But I think I just want to keep going with the story because we're going to be going on forever complaining about all this other stuff. But there's a lot of important news that we have to know about. And I think this Julian Assange latest revelation is a very important one.
And let's talk about that because we just showed that article up on the screen. Assange issued Ecuadorian ID as UK rejects bid to grant him diplomatic status. Now, he's being pushed out of that embassy. Is this for better or for worse? That's what we really need to know. There are some people in the alternative media that are now saying that Trump is ready to pardon him. I've seen no evidence of that. Trump spoke very heavily against Julian Assange and Edward Snowden during the campaign. I would be shocked if Julian Assange was able to get immunity in the United States. I think that is in imagination land with nothing but Johnny nonsense. Prove me wrong. And the bottom line, Luke, is this guy is about as high profile a person as you can get who has leaked documents across all sorts of governments globally. His life is obviously in danger. So is this a blessing or a curse? Is he going to be taken out literally the moment he walks out of that Ecuadorian embassy? Your thoughts? Oh, we got Luke Rudkowski frozen up for just one moment there. We're going to try to get back to him in a minute.
The United Kingdom, we arrested the Ecuadorian. We have pressure from the Ecuadorian government telling Julian Assange, get out.
All right, folks.
About the Catalan movement. Our ally is Spain. So you can't be critical of the Spanish government. Julian Assange still continued to be critical of the Spanish government and pushing the
All right, once again, Luke is halfway across the world. So we're going to keep going, and we will get back at Mr. Rudkowski in a minute when his feed comes better. He's down in South America right now. So another story that we wanted to go over was this one over here as we reconnect to Mr. Oh. Mark Zuckerberg officially considering a cryptocurrency. And
did I lose you there?
Yeah, we lost you just for a moment, but don't worry. We are still trucking along here. We're going to get back to the Mark Zuckerberg Facebook cryptocurrency in a moment. But let's go back to Assange for a minute because you really did break up there. We've got a full feed. Once again, nothing but high-res awesomeness from Luke Rudkowski right now. Assange, walking out of that Ecuadorian embassy, what is possibly going to happen? I mean, is he really a free man or is he free to be killed by anybody? Luke, go ahead.
Yeah, to me, it's very interesting because, as I just said, the Wall Street Journal just reported that the UK officially said that if Assange walks out of the Ecuadorian embassy, he will be arrested. And he's also facing a lot of pressure from the Ecuadorian government that told him not to tweet in support of the Catalan movement against the Spanish government, since the Spanish government is allied with the Ecuadorian government. So we have a push by the Ecuadorian government. It looks like there's a compromise, but it's leading to yet another stagnant moment, another unpredictable moment for Julian Assange, where it looks like he's stuck there and probably will be stuck there for the next few years. Because, again, I don't see him leaving that embassy unless he's forcibly forced out. He recently changed his Twitter icon to like the time moving very slowly. So it looks like a lot of people are getting impatient. It looks like the situation will be forced in one way or another, but you got to give credit where credit is due, especially when Assange specifically was told not to tweet in support of the Catalan movement in Barcelona, and then still continued to do so. So now we're again in this unpredictable moment.
Well, again, it speaks to the fact that this guy is not in it for fame. He's not in it for money. He's not in it to be the cult of personality, Luke. He's in it because it is the right thing to do. And again, speaking out against the government that may be protecting you is amazing. Go ahead.
And he's you know, he doesn't really need money. He has cryptocurrencies. PayPal blocked him. Senator John McCain made sure that all his financial revenue was taken away, that people couldn't use credit cards, people couldn't use Visa or MasterCard. He accepted cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, which were at a very low rate. So he is loaded with crypto. Then.
And once again, we have lost Luke Rudkowski. Again, we're in the beta stages of these things, guys. So as we get him back, as we're talking about cryptocurrency, he's back now, but as we're talking about cryptocurrency, I want to talk about these two stories. Number one, Facebook now considering making their own cryptocurrency. This is kind of a huge story because you're seeing more and more cryptocurrencies pop up in the market. And if Facebook gets involved, I think that you're going to see Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin shoot through the roof with the backing of a social media platform. Now, many of us know that the bottom on these cryptocurrencies could fall out at any moment. Quantum computing alone serves as that warning. And we've seen huge fluctuations in Bitcoin as of late. We've seen highs of 20,000. As of yesterday, I think it was resting around 14.5. But the bottom line is all of these cryptos in one way or another have risen in value. And aside from this Facebook story, we have the veteran company Kodak, yes, Kodak Film. They've unveiled their own cryptocurrency to be used within their market, their film market. And guess what happened? Their stock soared over 100%. That's a huge thing for a company that's been on the decline for 20 plus years, Mr. Rudkowski. What are your thoughts?
Well, not that well at all, but we're seeing. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Now we can. Luke, you just went limp. Okay. All right, we're going to try to get him back as soon as Luke is back in there. Hopefully he'll get at me in my ear. He was in there. Guys, again, he's halfway across the world. It's a tough connection over there. Can you hear me, Mr. Rudkowski?
All right. We're in
All right, with that being said, guys, are we back, Luke? You look back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Man, but you just keep freezing up. Luke, why don't you hang up and try to get another connection? I'll move on to the next story about the U.S. greatly loosening restrictions. Actually, you look good right now. So go ahead. Okay. Talk about the crypto thing, and then we'll move on to the next story on loosening restraints on nuclear weapons. Go for it, my friend. And, of course, as soon as I say that, he blinks out.
And the financial wealth of the entire world and flipped it around its head, as Barack Obama said. It's creating a Swiss bank account for every single person and individual. Now, with restrictions coming in from the U.S. government saying now that in the United States you will be taxed for trading cryptocurrencies, for even moving and exchanging them, we are seeing other companies, Orwellian, nightmarish, horrible companies like Facebook, come out of the woodwork saying, oh, now we're going to be working on this. Again, it's another red herring. I wouldn't trust Mark Zuckerberg. I wouldn't trust Facebook. I don't trust things like Ripple. I'm more inclined towards the kind of user-generated creativity that's more autonomous, that's more driven by all these other individuals coming together, projects like Monero, projects like Zcash, that allow people to have anonymity and more freedom on social media that will take over of this kind of blockchain technology and use it for very and Bitcoin. It's a new emerging technology for really good things and really bad things.
All right, folks. So Luke was in and out on that one, but basically you said, you know, it could be used for both good and evil. This is just like another technology. It's a hammer. It can be used to build a house. It can be used to bash somebody's head in. But the bottom line is they are going after crypto in a huge way, folks. Changing the IRS code is a very, very big deal, and it shows you that cryptocurrencies aren't going anywhere. They are going to continue on one way or another. Whether or not we're going to see them mainline and be used in every case, we have to realize that our own system in the United States, the dollar system, is based on zeros and ones anyway. It's not based on heavy metals. It's not based about how much gold we have. No, it's based on what the Federal Reserve decides our currency is worth. It's literally a currency based on zeros and ones anyway that isn't crypto. So when will that fiat currency collapse? What makes that currency more valid than, say, a Bitcoin, a Litecoin, an Ethereum, Steam? In my mind, not much, and the establishment absolutely is seeing not only the potential of this, but trying to control that potential as well. With that being said, Luke is on the other end really trying hard, but I want to get to some other stories here, and we possibly may end this broadcast before going back to Rudowski. Remember, we are going to be answering your questions in the super chat, in the live chat, after the fact. We want you guys to get involved, but I wanted to go over this next story. U.S. to greatly loosen constraints on the use of nuclear weapons. Now, I think that a lot of this, in actuality, is really grandstanding. I don't believe that we're going to be ready to start nuking people in the near future. I don't think this is a threat that we're going to start letting off nuclear bombs everywhere. But what I do think this is this is more posturing. This is a maneuver to put fear not only into the hearts of people abroad, like, say, North Korea, but really put fear into the hearts of Americans to let us know there's a real possibility we may absolutely use these weapons eventually. Obviously, we hope that they won't be using these weapons because it'd be extremely detrimental to do so. Now, another big story to me, one that I think is super important, is this Harvey Weinstein story. Harvey Weinstein video shows restaurant attack. And why are we going to play this? This is out of TMZ right here. And there's Harvey walking around. Oh, what are you doing? And, you know, he can't even go into a restaurant anymore, folks, without being harassed, without being chased out.
You're a fucking piece of shit.
And there you go.
And what would you do about it? Shut the fuck up. Get the fuck out of here.
And, you know, we apologize about the language, folks, but this is reality. And, you know, this man approaches Weinstein, and he's not done. He's going to give him a little bit of a slap.
Don't.
Boop, boop. A little double slap. Almost falls over, and he's barely hit.
Don't do that.
Now,
Don't do that.
what is most interesting to me about this, Luke, is a quote from George H.W. Bush way back in the day in the 90s. When he was, I think it was right after he'd been the president of the United States in his short term. He said, if they had only known what we had done, our heads would roll in the streets. And as people are becoming more and more aware of what's going on, people like Harvey Weinstein, who wielded incredible power up to 6 months ago, Luke, really not only have had that power stripped away, but are literally being attacked by regular citizens in the streets. Thoughts? Oh, your voice is not on there, Radowski. We can't hear you. Yep. Let's see if you can unmute it. No, nothing. All right. Well, there he was for a second, folks, and we're going to be back. Again, hey, it's our virgin run on this one. We're going to get better at it, we promise you. And, you know, these live streams are extremely experimental. But once again, it is extremely heartening to show that people can't always get away with their heinous actions, that power is not absolute. And although that corruption of power has built up so many of these monsters are going to fall. And we're seeing that more and more in the modern age. Folks, we're going to be doing way more of these live streams. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Letting you know that we're also going to be doing a daily drop over on Facebook after this. Me and Luke are going to be live streaming again at the very least this Sunday. Remember, folks, we need you to support us. We need you to post our stuff on social media. We need you to subscribe to the channel. We need your support. We need you to go to our WeAreChange.org. Make that donation. I can hear you now, Luke. I can hear you now. We're going to go back to
hear me now, finally.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what happened, but I've been totally cut off. Like the Wi-Fi was like 4 bars, and now it's like 1 bar. But I'm happy you guys can finally hear me now. I was going to say, it was very interesting seeing a backhanded slap that wasn't even that hard, almost completely take out, what is he, like 6'2", 500 pounds, Harvey Weinstein? Man almost completely blacked out. With the nuke stuff, it's very fascinating because we see countries threaten to nuke each other all the damn gosh darn time. United States does it to North Korea. North Korea does it to the United States. Of course, China is always posturing. Russia is always posturing. NATO is always posturing. So we're seeing the kind of continuation of this posturing. But it's interesting that nothing has really changed under the presidency of Donald Trump. Only escalated when it comes to more tensions between superpowers in the world and them vying for more power and control. All right. Whew. I still got a lot more to say. Let's not end this broadcast yet. Let's still take some questions. Especially from the audience, especially from the chat room that's happening over right now, because that's really the main kind of focus of this. And also, Andrew Jackson had another comment, just like Bush did, where he says, if you look at the creation of our money system or how it was created, if people find out, there would be a revolution overnight. I'm ad-libbing that, obviously. But more and more things, which I wanted to kind of end the broadcast on, that I wanted to talk to you specifically about. A lot of people have this kind of pessimistic viewpoint that everything's doom and gloom. But in all actuality, I don't know about you, Jason, but I think we're winning. There's huge censorships on all the mainstream media platforms, and all the social media corporatocracy platforms. But we're seeing alternative media spread out to different avenues in different ways. And still, in the face of that kind of censorship, we're still able to get the message through. It's not an easy fight, but I think we're doing a lot better than we give ourselves credit to. And we have to sometimes breathe a little bit, take in the fresh air, and understand we're doing a lot better than we should in the first place, and we're winning.
Well, the bottom line is, me and you have talked about sexual assaults and sexual abuse in Washington, D.C. and Hollywood for well over a decade now. And now it's become commonplace that is an actual reality. Now, has it gotten to the level that it needs to? Have they explored the Podesta emails as extensively as they need to? Have they taken Corey Feldman's claims seriously as they need to? Well, it's starting. And I don't know if you saw that. Corey.
No, there's still corruption everywhere in mass amounts, but finally people are waking up to it, and the trust in the mainstream CIA media is at an all-time low. So we're getting there, but we're not getting there through the old systems, through the old platforms. We're revitalizing and informing ourselves and finding out there's going to be a different avenue. There's going to be a different way, and it's not going to be through the old systems that are in play right now.
Absolutely. And, you know, we talked about social media, and we talked about shadow bans, for instance. That's what we led this broadcast with. Well, on social media just a day and a half ago, Corey Feldman did almost a 20-minute broadcast, one of which that I watched. But you know what? Did not show up in my feed. Had to go to Feldman's actual page to find it. And in this 20-minute broadcast, he finally said it. He finally named that the people that abused him, many of them are cultists and Satanists. And he acknowledged Luke, that sounded crazy, that sounded far-fetched, but the people in the know, the people in Hollywood knew this to be true, and I truly believe that we are on the cusp of this being the next breakout scandal. That's why we just put up that report on Chappelle's latest comedy special, The Bird Revelation, because he is heavily suggesting there's something more going on in Hollywood, and if you're paying attention and listening, that something is the abuse of children, Luke.
If there ever was a ripe time to expose the pedophile Satanists, it is right now, and they are being exposed in massive ways. But there's still so much more. People need to realize we're only scratching the surface on a lot of these horrible, extremely insane situations. That I mean, you would have told anyone in October, just last year. Hollywood is filled with predators and sexual assaulters and abusers who are above the law, that the mainstream media ignores, that local police departments cover up for. People would have been like, you're nuts. You're a crazy conspiracy theorist. Now everyone knows about it. Everyone's finding alternatives, whether it's through cryptocurrencies. Everyone's finding out all the latest health stuff and how the whole entire health system is an entire utter scam. How Tylenol affects your empathy, how it does all these other horrible things, how everything that we're pretty much being told, even how we're supposed to diet, is totally full of crap. This is the next venture that I'm kind of working on the kind of self-help, self-development, because if you really want to be the change in the world, you have to make yourself the best version of yourself. That's why I kind of been spotty. I've been doing a lot of research, doing a lot of test trials. I've been doing a lot of homework. So excuse me for my absence. Jason, I think you've been doing really, really great while I've been gone. But I think also we should move forward and take questions from the audience right now.
That sounds great to me, Luke. If you've got those questions, Luke is looking through them right now in the live chat. As soon as he's got one he wants to answer, he will flag to me. We'll go over that question. But the bottom line is Luke is right. If you want to be the change you want to see in the world, you have to work on yourself first. You have to stop hitting that snooze button. You have to figure out how you're going to spend your extra time. Is it best well spent, watching that college football game, rooting for that NBA team, or is it more well spent reading up on a subject that affects you and your family, getting out, voting, supporting a candidate that actually has your values, exposing the mainstream media when they're not only spinning a story, but they're absolutely lying about it. That's the bottom line. You want to be that change, you can be that change, and you can work on yourself every single day. And I'm far from perfect. Luke is far from perfect, but we try to step it up every single day. And that's why this broadcast right here exists. We want to do more live stuff. We want to get involved with you guys. We want to know where the big stories are. The mainstream media isn't talking about things like a fatwa on Bitcoin. They're not talking about Twitter's shadow ban. They're not talking about the real implications of what's going on with WikiLeaks and Assange, because they want to marginalize that voice as much as possible. So we're going to go back to Luke Rudowski. What's that first super chat you want to talk about?
Well, people are saying that this is the tip of the iceberg and that gay frogs will fall from the sky soon. There's another interesting question. People are asking, how deep do you think the Satanism actually goes? That's a question that's being asked right now.
Well, all right, let's answer that. Now, first of all, at least for me, when I was first approached about this information, we're talking about, this is about 2001, and I'm just looking into 9/11, and this investigation into 9/11 really snowballs into so much more. And growing up, and I grew up Christian, I went to church, there was talk in those churches of a new world order, of a mark of the beast. And I got to tell you, I thought it was a joke. I absolutely poo-pooed all of it. And because of that perspective and growing up, maybe in a little bit more of a broken situation and not believing in religion, you think of Satanism as that goth kid in your high school class that's wearing black makeup and can't find a girlfriend. It's a joke. Nobody really believes it. It's just this dark joke. And you certainly don't believe those that are at the upper echelons of power believe in what amounts to like magic and voodoo and occultism and things that we can't comprehend. But the bottom line is, once you start doing your research, you realize that these people that hold extremely powerful positions in law enforcement, in government, in Hollywood, in entertainment, even in the medical industry, many of them are into either occultic or Satanistic practices. And a lot of those, in fact, the Satanistic practices may not even be a belief in an actual physical being of Lucifer, although there is that. There are those beliefs out there. You know, you can look up things like Manly P. Hall's The Secret Doctrine, Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma, all these kind of theosophic versions of occultism. And you can look at the Crowley stuff. But if you look at the base of Satanism, it's really a do as thou wilt religion, Luke. It's one that is self-serving and that says to you, hey, no matter what you do, as long as it's for you, it's okay. And that is an extremely narcissistic and sociopathic viewpoint of the world. And I can see how people who are power seekers will snowball from that into the darkest nether regions of things we cannot imagine, Mr. Radowski.
And these people are the ones in charge in the upper echelons of society, just like we see at the Bohemian Grove, where celebrities, politicians, entertainers, philosophers, educators all go together, worship Moloch, have mock child sacrifices, and bring in male prostitutes. Just do what the hell you want. That kind of attitude, especially when you're in charge of such an important role in society, whether it's a politician or an educator. I mean, gosh, just imagine the crap that you put on there. Anything will be justifiable. Of course, people are bringing up spirit cooking in the comment section. And yeah, we got a little bird's eye view of what happens with people like John Podesta when they smear humanly bodily fluids, what was it, pee, blood, breast milk, or whatever, and then call in different kind of entities. Like, you think the stuff being exposed by Hollywood is weird? No, it gets a lot weird. Of course, you could get into Stanley Kubrick, you could get into Eyes Wide Shut, you could get into all that stuff, but then you start sounding like a crazy person. But we're not crazy anymore. This is becoming legit. We're getting pictures and videos of this, and finally, like, oh, wow, this is a bigger war, a kind of spiritual war that's happening between all of us, between the good and the bad. Without the bad, the good wouldn't exist, and without the good, the bad wouldn't exist. So it's a continual battle. It's a very fun, interesting fight, to say the least. We're definitely the underdogs here. A lot of people are, but I still have a lot of faith and optimism, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now if I didn't truly believe in it. All right, moving on with the rest of the comments. People are saying these people sold their souls to get their fame and money. You do see, I think this is also interesting, Jason, you do see a lot of famous entertainers in their rap lyrics or music song lyrics talk about how they sold their soul to the devil. What do you think about that?
Well, obviously, I think they're speaking in a metaphoric manner. I don't think that they actually took a piece of paper and signed it over to Lucifer himself. But I think that many of these entertainers become so self-aware that they have sold their soul literally to a powerful, evil entity that they are forced to discuss it because they feel it. They know it in their hearts and souls. And I got to tell you, folks, you know, I know consciousness exists, and I feel in my heart that what makes humanity so great, what makes humanity so different from everything else on this planet is our soul. I think a soul is a real thing, and I think there is a struggle, like Luke said, every day between good and evil. And I don't necessarily think that this is a quote-unquote fun fight. It certainly is interesting. It does feel good to take these people on. But again, I think that these people in the entertainment industry get so overwhelmed with their compromises, with their decisions in these tough situations. They often do become self-aware that they have literally sold their soul for fame by making not only poor decisions, but evil, centric, sociopathic decisions time and time again. And that's reflected in their art. It's not just a line in a rap song to be cool. It's a line that they feel is the truth because they've done so many things they never thought they would do to achieve that fame, Luke.
Yeah, it's not just one person talking about it. It's dozens and dozens of artists and celebrities giving a little kind of snippets, all talking about the same thing. And when you look at kind of the upper echelons of any kind of industry, whether it's the music industry, there is a lot of corruption. There's so many lies. A lot of the famous and rich people, I've met some of them, it's all fake. They rent cars, they rent houses, they rent women. It's all a facade. While the music industry, I actually knew a very connected rapper, Prodigy, before he passed away. We hung out a couple times. Not many people know this, but we were friends and we talked to each other a lot. And he exposed to me how the entire game works and how it's almost entirely, completely fake, while the big music executives control you, own you. You can't do anything without their permission. You can't do anything without them signing off on it. And they take the majority of the money, giving you literally pennies on the dollar for all the deals and all the record deals and all the music deals that you're able to successfully commit yourself. So you are owned, which could be another kind of simplistic way of kind of explaining it. I'm going to be moving forward here with the comments. Jason, if you see any of them, feel free to interrupt me, and then we'll get right to it. People are saying, just need drugs and Satan. I love the comment section. You never know what you're going to get. Oh, my goodness. The video is killing it. Do you know why? Satan knows everything. Rest in paradise. P. Luke, in Germany, we're going to see the next. This is a question. Luke, in Germany, we start to see more internet censorship. Will it expand in Europe in the next time? I don't know what that means. Have you got an understanding of that?
I would say he's just asking if internet censorship is going to expand in Europe. And unfortunately, it seems that internet censorship is going to expand everywhere. When you look at China's model, that really does seem to be the globalist model of the internet. And that's why we did that report, WeAreChange, it's got to be a month or two ago now, of Tim Cook, the head of Apple, somebody you don't see in the headlines all the time, at one of these large Chinese trade shows, talking about this global partnership for a globally centric internet, where, again, the state does decide what websites you're able to access. Remember, in China, Luke, they can't access Facebook. They can't access Google. They can't access YouTube. In North Korea, they have a much more restrictive system than even China. They have an intranet, not an internet. And unless we have a free flow of all information, we're in trouble. So those are the type of things that we need to fight against, Luke. We need to fight against internet censorship in every way, shape, and form, sir.
Well, it's already happening. The censorship is here now. We're living in it, as we're seeing a small side effect to it, to what's happening in other countries. Other countries are just being beta tested. And trust me, the government forces and officials here from the United States are studying it very closely. But there's also, the internet, again, a double-edged sword. For one way, it's used for bad, and another way, it's used for good. It's used to control thought and to control your own kind of psychology, use your own weaknesses against you to manipulate you so you could be a better sheeple. On the other hand, you could use VPNs, get access to Facebook, say, in China, get access to information that the government doesn't want you to know. And it's kind of a fine line. It's kind of a very, it's kind of like a dance, because the more that they try to censor you, the more that they try to squash ideas, the more people are slowly waking up to them and knowing, like, hey, there's something else. There's something bigger here. There's something that we should look into. There's something that we should actually care about and get a better understanding of the system that we're living in. But I can understand why people think it's too late, but it's not. It's all depending on you, yourself, and what you decide to do with your own individual life. Looking for more questions here. If you guys have questions, definitely send them in the comment section of this video.
I got one right here. Luke, Jason, what happened to the promised WikiLeaks releases that dried up last November after the initial Pizzagate revelation? And could Pizzagate not break at all? Well, I think that there's a lot there, right there, Luke. And I think that the reason that you didn't see many leaks after November is because the majority of those leaks were coming from a guy that was murdered. They came from Seth Rich. Seymour Hersh, one of the premier investigative journalists of our time, was recorded secretly talking about the Seth Rich emails. They're in there. And the idea that pedogate, Pizzagate, this abuse could not break at all, I think that is an extremely distinct possibility. These people have been getting away with this type of behavior, unfortunately, for generations. And because they have gotten away with this stuff for generations, I will believe the arrests when they come about. Now, we've done a ton of reporting here at WRC on Jeffrey Epstein, Dennis Hassert, former Seattle Mayor Ed Murray, more and more low-level government figures, state senators, local police chiefs, that all seem to be involved in this pedophile lifestyle. And people like Hassert are named in those emails. Now, there are a ton of people out there doing God's work and trying to bring the truth about that matter into the public. The question is, and we got Luke coming back right now, the question is, will it break? And in my heart of hearts, I want to believe that these people will eventually be punished for their crimes, but I'm also not naive. Now, I would say some of the most cutting-edge work that's been done on that scandal is the work of, quote-unquote, the big fish. And for those not familiar with the big fish, this is the person that claims to have hacked into Comet Ping Pong's private server and gone to the police with this information that there was indeed child pornography on their private server, that there were servers connected to that across the world, and that it contained large zip files of child pornography. Now, the reason that this person is to be believed is he has recorded his conversations with police officers. And if he was hoaxing this and calling police officers and talking about what he'd reported, guess what, Luke? He'd be in jail, but that's not the case. In fact, instead, he's getting the runaround by the police department a year plus later after reporting this these images. And we know that this incident in Comet Ping Pong Pizza, the only thing that was hurt in that quote-unquote shooting there was the hard drive to his computer that would have contained this information. Seems a bit convenient, doesn't it, Mr. Radowski?
That's a very strange story that I did not hear about previously before, and I think this is a great why you're on here. You're able to bring up stories that because there's so much happening now. It's like I don't know if you guys feel the same way. It's like a quickening. Right now, we have more information available to us than ever before throughout human history, and it's just exponentially growing with how much we're actually finding out what exactly what's happening here. And that's why we want to expand the operation. That's why we've been working really hard. I got to figure out a way to get another connection. I think I'm going to get one of those internet boxes that I'm going to travel around everywhere with to make sure I have solid internet everywhere. I don't know what happened here. I had good internet, and then it just went completely down midway through the broadcast. So I apologize for the audio and technical difficulties, which, of course, we're going to be working on to make sure that these broadcasts are going to be better, well-produced, smoother, and, of course, stepping our game up so we could utterly destroy the mainstream media by doing their job better. I think we should sign off, Jason, and then continue this, do more test trials, and then have a better version ready for you this Sunday. We usually like around 7 p.m. I don't know what time we're going to do it, but stay tuned to my Twitter, twitter.com/LukeWeAreChange, where we will keep you updated on what we're doing, on the shows that we're going to be doing. I'm doing another Bitcoin show this Saturday. Me and Jason are going to do another weekly broadcast about all the important news that happened this week, this Sunday. And then, of course, I'm traveling. I'm on the road. I'm going to be producing a lot of high-quality content with bigger, kind of interesting stories, also on this YouTube channel Monday through Thursday. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think we should improve on. But I think we should sign off just for now, Jason.
All right, sounds good. God bless you all. Be the change you want to see in the world. We'll see you later, folks.